Welcome to episode 62 of TerrorVision Horror Podcast, the SPOILERCAST version. I'm one of your hosts, Dan McGuinness, and joining me on my midnight meat train is my co-host, Jennifer the Dream Warrior Strand. Welcome to our SPOILERCAST episode where each fortnight Jennifer and I set ourselves a horror movie to watch and we go through it scene by scene and spoil the fuck out of it for all y'all. It's a deep dive into glorious gore, hard edits, cheesy acting, directing madness, severed wangs and compound fractures. Together we are two people with a love of horror but feel the burn of our obsolete Blockbuster memberships. We'd just like to thank all of our listeners who support us over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and the YouTube. Thank you very much. We love you. And we love to shout out the people who interact with us on social medias each week and fortnight. People like Floppy, old Flopster, Kevin Patterson, Simon Zwart, Melinda Nankerville, the Nankers, excellent, Dave's Video Graveyard, Simone Stewart, I should have read these names beforehand because I just realised I'm reading them as I'm reading them. Neville Pierce, is that right?
Yep.
Dion Cracknell and Patrick Roberts. Thank you. That's just some of the people who have been interacting with us and supporting us over the last fortnight. But we have a rating system.
We do.
And everyone needs to know our rating system.
Oh,
and
they do.
And every fortnight, Jen will go over the rating system and she's about to fucking throw a rating system to your face right now, you cunts.
Right, face holes. Okay, so our rating system goes a little something like this. We've got an A is awesome, everybody should watch. B is our beer and chicken wing group movie. F is for fun and dumb. C is a classic that's worth a watch. U is underrated. O, an overrated motherfucker. G, good for its time but is not held up. We've got the J, Jen special. The D, Dan special. We've got a W, whatever. We've got the Kesha, low budget hot mess. C minus, craft is stellar but I hate the content. And finally, we have the McConaughey, the cream of the crap, the fucking fucked, the we watched it so you really don't have to.
The of movies.
Oh, yes.
And this week, speaking of movies, we watched Black Roses from 1988, which was Jen's pick.
It was.
And
I chose wisely.
Oh, did you?
I did.
So did that guy in Indiana Jones, and he turned into a skeleton. No, he chose poorly.
He did choose poorly.
Yeah.
So this film is directed by John Fasano, who, based on his IMDb page, has not really done too much more, but he did write the very terrible Australian film Darkness Falls. I don't know if you remember that one.
Everyone tries to forget.
Yeah, it's mid-2000s film about the Tooth Fairy. Terrible. Screenplay is by Cindy Surrile, yeah. Sirius? I don't know. Starring John Martin, Ken Swafford, Sal Viviano, Julie Adams, who is from The Creature from the Black Lagoon, so that's pretty cool. Budget for this film, I had a lot of trouble finding some information out for this film. So in an interview with Fasano, he stated that the budget was slightly under $1 million. So
that's so much.
That is a lot for 1988.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And because this was a direct to VHS kind of film, there is no info regarding box office. So I don't know how much money
that's a big
this film has made. Yeah.
I'd never even heard of this film. When you said we're watching this, I was like, I don't even know what that is.
That's fantastic.
And I saw the cover, I'm like, potential.
Yeah.
Like the cover's cool. Like, it's like purples and greens, which is our TerrorVision colours.
Yes. I love it. It's fantastic.
What was it, Sinopo?
Turn up the volume, turn down the lights, but don't watch it alone.
Okay.
Teens in a small conservative town are turned into evil demons thanks to music of a titular heavy metal band.
Titular?
Titular.
So they use the word titular in their actual like synopsis.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen that word used.
I don't think I've ever used that word.
I've never written it. It sounds sexy.
It does sound sexy.
Get out your titulars.
Show us your titulars.
I often get like jocks yelling at me as I'm walking and they're driving in their pickups.
Oh. Yeah, I don't get that yelled at me. I'm happy.
All right, so it opens. It opens with some sexy jazz midday movie music. Like it fully is like that.
Yeah, it's like that piano, saxophone, sexy. It's like at any point this could become a softcore porn.
Or could even just become just like a 19 80s drama, working class business drama.
Yep.
Because it also is offset with like, shots of the city at night. We're getting this sexy jazz.
It's a nice city.
And then all of a sudden, it cuts to a gig with a bunch of monsters, which I can only say these are monsters.
The demons, but sure.
That are playing like music, a show, and it's like a toned down Iron Maiden, like the music style, if you will. But the monsters on the stage look wicked.
This is fucking great.
This is where they spent their whole budget.
Was this one scene. So this is a really, we've got some really, it's like cool 80s hair metal. The crowd are going off. They're singing this song like Me Against the World, which, is like kind of like a Anthrax kind of weird.
It wasn't even it was like a toned down version of all that shit.
It was, I loved it. I was like,
It reminded me,
sold.
a lot of the music reminded me of like Def Leppard.
Yes.
So it's
well,
like,
it is that sort of that hair metal
kind of like ballady.
Like if they were to remake this today, they'd just get Steel Panther in to play the band.
No, I just reckon Steel Panther's too cool. They get like it has that Bryan Adams feel to it. The music.
No, don't say that. I'm offended.
Yeah, I did.
Stop it.
And now the monsters look amazing. They're rubber masks. They've got, I didn't even know if they had animatronics in them, but their mouths are moving, they're singing, they're drumming. It looks wicked. I'm like, oh yeah. Number one, I was like, why are they monsters? And at first I thought, are they people dressed up Slipknot style playing a band? I'm like, no, I think they're supposed to be monsters.
Yeah, they are monsters.
But anyhow, the crowd are humans and they don't give a fuck. They're like, sickness, motherfuckers. Keep going.
I'm here for the band.
And I'm like, And yeah, we get suddenly, the police rock up because clearly this is rock and roll out of control.
Well, so there's the promoter's kind of watching from behind a door and he's kind of just like mesmerized by what is happening on the other side. Like he's almost like hypnotized. And then the cops rock up, but it's one of those like dragnet kind of Exorcist 3 style police officers. He's in
like
his
the
trench
detective.
coat and he's just like, I'm here to shut this down.
Yeah, he's like the detective followed by a bunch of just like beat cops.
Yeah.
And he goes, what are you doing? This music's terrible. And the manager turns around and he's like, fear.
Yeah.
He's like he's been held captive almost. I don't know. It actually, you know what? It never explains it.
It doesn't.
They don't even have him. He's never in the film again. They don't even have a manager. And yeah, they open up the doors, the double doors. And lo and behold, what's in there? A bunch of cheap zombies.
Yep. A horde of like demonic zombies. And when I say a horde, I say about 6.
Yeah.
Compiling out on top of this.
When they kind of jump out and attack us like, what's that word? Like, in camera. Like they're attacking
like
us.
POV.
POV, that's it. So they POV attack the camera, which goes into the opening credits kind of thing. It's like that. That's kind of the teaser. What is that thing called at the start of the film?
The cold open.
The cold open. That's it.
So we get this really nice sort of like very brief animated sort of title sequence where like roses come up on the screen. You get black roses pop up.
And two Lambos drive over.
I'm like, they're Lambos, right? And I'm like, they're driving very, very slowly into a town.
But these are 2 Lambos. These are like the fucking, the Lambos that you've got on your wall as a kid that's got a sexy like lady with big hair that has been pulled straight out of a Chico Roll ad.
Yes.
And they're cruising super slow down this like rural town. This is like a fucking, it's got like one hardware store.
Yeah.
A fucking and the hardware store doubles as the department store.
Yeah, they've also got like 5 yarn stores for all the knitting that's going to happen in this town.
Yeah, and they have weird names for everything. Like instead of a hardware store, it's called Spry's.
Yeah, ye old soda shop.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And now they're cruising down, and we're getting like some shots of the car. We got the credits over this, so we're getting this like vibe. And then out of the Lambo, they stop. Out steps hair metal, I called him.
Yeah, so his name's Damien, but because of course it is. Like
Damien Denominus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Damo.
Oh, yeah.
He gets out and then a bunch of like hair metal. They look like Poison. Do you remember Poison?
Yes,
yeah.
I fucking love Poison.
Oh, well, someone did. Had to.
It's still me.
So
day.
they get out the car and they just start walking around and shit. Then we cut to a family.
Yep.
Now, I got real confused at the start of this movie. This movie, it does the worst Actually, this movie does the worst at everything, but it does the worst at like just explaining what characters you're watching.
Yeah, so with the cut between them, the band who have just rocked up to town starting to put up flyers for a show, we now cut between, and this is cut between various teens from different homes.
And I thought they were all the girls look exactly the same.
They do.
And I was like... So,
and they're all like various names like Julie, Julia, Jane.
Jules, Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we cut to this family in the morning. They're getting up and shit. The son, Tony?
Yep.
Yeah, he gets up. He goes to school. It's just like showing that there's young
teens.
people in this town. They're all dressed in denim.
Yep. What's the 80s?
There's only denim.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a denim town.
Well, I feel that this is a Canadian film, so they would be wearing a lot like a denim tuxedo kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the band, it cuts back to the band, and they start putting flyers up around town. And I'm like, what the fuck band puts up their own flyers? Especially bands that are in Lambos.
Yeah.
So they're making like fucking fat wads. and what, did they just make their money from saving money by not paying promoters?
Hey, that's where you get your, like, you know, you pay and stuff.
So they've got these cheap ass one colour flyers that they're putting up like around town of their band.
Well, they went to their local Kinko's and they're like, I'll take 25,000 copies, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all they did.
Well, it's weird. And I'm like, does the person who makes this film know what bands do? Drive around in Lambos and put up flyers.
Well, yeah, you know, if they were driving around in like a pickup truck or something, you'd be like, yeah, that makes a little bit more sense because that's what...
But it didn't have to be them. It could have
No.
been anyone putting the flyers up. We get the idea. The whole point is it's to show that this band is coming to this town.
Yeah.
But the band flyer is terrible.
It is.
It just says like Black Roses at the top and just has a massive, like the whole thing is just a shot of Damien.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is it doesn't even look like the Damien that's in the band. It looks like a fucking high school glam shot.
Well, I'm guessing it's his acting resume, like his photo.
Yeah, it doesn't look anything
His
like the character.
headshot?
So
Yeah.
at first I was like, are they putting a flyer up for a different band?
Well, no, I like a lot of the gimmick is that this is a band that you know, you hear whispers of it being like this satanic metal, like, you know, satanic panic kind of band. But if you put up a flyer of a very lovely World Cup man, then you'll see that they're not as bad as you would think. So all the kids can now come to the show.
This doesn't work. Anyhow, we cut to a classroom.
Yep.
All the characters are in this class.
They all are. Yeah.
At first, though, I thought there was only 2 characters. Apparently, there's like 6 of the characters in this class, but they're all the same person. They're getting taught by Tom Selleck. It's basically Magnum PI. Imagine Magnum PI, the moustache,
Yeah.
everything, the man, the top, their teacher is Magnum PI.
Yeah,
You
he
call
is
him
the
Mr.
poor man's Tom Atkins because his
Yeah.
moustache is not as good, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, so Magnum is, you don't know who Magnum PI is, get the fuck out of my podcast. And he is like he's like the cultural teacher. He's teaching like poetry.
Yeah, they're talking about Walt Whitman.
Yeah, they're doing like, you know, literature and all crap like that. And he's like, you know, the guy that understands kids. He, you know, they come to him and talk to him. He understands that, you know, that the kids aren't the bad guy. You know, he's a nice teacher.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
He's the understanding one.
I liked him. He was the most redeeming factor of this whole movie.
So he starts talking about Walt Whitman and Walt Whitman's take on evil, which is kind of irrelevant. But then he calls on Johnny, who is a pretty much...
Oh, yeah, Johnny, not Tony.
A 30-year-old terrible actor. And he starts talking about...
He is a student as well.
He is the student,
And
yeah.
he wears, he just wears double denim the whole time.
He is nothing but denim. And he starts talking about the good Christian community that is their town versus the Black Roses performance. So, you know, we live in this town. The parents don't understand. They won't let us go to the concert because they think it's evil, blah, 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 blah,
But
blah.
if they're all they're flying and advertising merch says that they're not an evil band, how does the town even know that?
Yeah, I don't know. Because this isn't the days of Spotify where, like...
Because this isn't the days of good movie making either, clearly, because like there is no consistency in this film. Yeah, so they bang on about like they basically do this whole diatribe on music kind of thing.
So this is the first time that any band has ever come to this town, and the fact that this really popular heavy metal band has chosen their town to start their tour is fantastic. And of course, this whole time, you know, we're sort of starting to get a sense of the students that are in the class. We are briefly introduced to a girl called Julie.
Yep.
Who Johnny clearly has a hard-on for.
Well, I thought they were going out, but clearly not or
He
some
wants to, but she has eyes for another mustache.
Yeah, so this scene is just like to show that Magnum PI, that Magnum understands the kids. He talks, I think it's in this scene, it doesn't matter if it's not, like he talks about like, you know, how music like is always misunderstood at first by the older generation, that, you know, even when the Beatles came out, not everyone was against the Beatles until later on, they were like protested as being Satanists and shit, even they were, and stuff like that, but in the end it turns out to be fluff.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, cool, and he made some really good points in this thing, and I was like, cool, so it's like, you know, it's a religious town against, I suppose, logic.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Pretty much.
then we cut to class is over. We cut Johnny's back home. He's at home and he's sitting there and he's making his own Black Roses denim jacket
Heck yeah, that's what you did.
with his paint pens.
If you can't afford to buy merch, you make merch.
Oh yeah.
His dad's sitting there reading the paper. He doesn't even look up, and he's talking. And he's like, "So
this is a really bad character,
about
Dad.
this Black Roses concert." And he's like, "Yeah, I bought my tickets.
I bought for every show.
Yeah, so he bought 2 tickets for every show." And he's like, "Oh, what?
That's nice,
Okay.
son." Yeah, he's basically he's represented that he's supposed to be the father that doesn't care or listen, but he does.
He's there.
He's not a bad guy. He's like, oh, go, that's good, son, no matter what. Anyhow, it's a paper thin character shit. Then we cut to a PTA meeting. Is that what does PTA stand for?
Parent Teachers Association.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is pretty much like the
town meeting, though.
The town meeting. So it's all the good Christian town members come together to talk about this concert happening. So they're all against the concert. And of course, you know, the devil is here.
We got one main Karen.
Yes.
We got the religious Karen from The Mist.
Yes, played by Julie Adams from Creature from the Black Lagoon.
So she is the religious banner. She's going on about this town fucking, you know, this is a good Christian town. These are Satan worshippers. Listen to these lyrics. She'd read some lyrics out. And then we get also like, you know, fucking Magnum PI comes in.
Yeah.
And and he's watching from the back.
He is, yeah.
And then the mayor gets up, and the mayor's like, he's all about the money kind of thing. You can tell.
Yeah, he's just, well, then he has his own like spiel about like, you know,
he's
it's
for
just
the band.
It's just rock and roll. Well, you would be, because it's going to bring money in. So it's like, you know, Elvis, the Beatles, Rolling Stone. How is this any different? Like, you know, I'm not going to stop this concert.
And he starts, and he relays some like things. He goes, Karen, remember like that time when we were younger and you did this and that? She goes, oh yeah. And then he makes some really good points. So I'm like, okay, cool. So
I do enjoy a good communal rah though. You know, this was definitely that scene for that. So I got my good old you know.
And now we cut to Johnny and the girl, which I think is Julie.
Julie, yes, they are out.
There's also this weird thing where like Johnny doesn't like the teacher because Julie speaks to him after class. And
Julie clearly has a big old nasty crush on him. Yeah.
I didn't get that. I just got that shit like people just made up rumors about her for no reason.
No, I'm like the way I mean, it's open to interpretation, I guess. Like I got that she really has a thing for him, and she spends a lot of time talking to him.
But what makes it like with me that got confusing is later on they mentioned that that Magnum PI has a fling going with the mayor's daughter.
Yes,
and I thought that was Julie.
Yeah, no, because there's like three blondes in this film that look exactly the same.
So I was like, man, Magnum PI is banging a little kid.
He is not, but
he wasn't. But yeah.
No.
And now they're in the street. Johnny accuses the girl of banging the teacher in the most ham-fisted way possible. But they're still like, they really play it off as in like, it's cool. It's fine. It's a joke. Oh, you banging the teacher? She goes, no, I'm not. And they laugh and chase each other. I'm like, that's not cool.
Why bang him when you can be with me? And like,
I'm like, yeah,
he's such a dope. And he's swinging around fucking poles like he's
in Singing in the Rain or some shit. It's weird.
So weird. And then he decides that he's going to paint the town red. So he goes and breaks into the ye old lumberyard.
This is great. He goes, you know what we're going to do? Let's do something fucking crazy. Let's paint this town red. And he goes, literally. He goes and gets some red paint.
Yes.
And I'm like, what do you mean?
So he goes to steal some red paint. But what we didn't...
And doesn't do anything?
He doesn't. So they open the can up. But of course, Mr. Mustache is hanging around.
He's walking around
he's
town.
having his own town walk. And he hears... He's
this
like,
is at night time, by the way.
Yeah. He's like, I hear a paint can opening. Oh my God. So he goes like running off.
Hang on, that's an illegal sounding paint can.
Pretty much. So the kids are like, oh my God, I hear a teacher running. They run
Oh my
off
God, that sounds like Mr. Mustache's feet.
It's like in Dungeons and Daddies with his two moustaches.
Yeah.
I love it. So the kids have bailed and he sees the can on the floor. He kind of investigates a little bit. We see a silhouette off in the background and he leaves. And then all of a sudden the paint can just catches on fire.
Yeah, the paint can just spontaneously combust because we all know that red paint is the evil paint.
It is.
That combusts. You know, the paint catches on fire by itself. I suppose anything to get out of this film, even the paint didn't want to be in it. It's just like, I'll commit ritual suicide. The paint. But the thing is, like, you never see what he does. He doesn't do anything.
No, nothing happens.
He opens the paint can with his like pocket knife and leaves it at the scene, and then like Magnum PI moustache picks up the pocket knife and goes, pocket knife.
It's like, Johnny has a pocket. Well.
Anyhow, cut back to class the next morning, and Magnum gives Johnny back his knife and gives him the fucking spiel about
It's like a very subtle, I know that you were the one who did this, but I'm not going to say outright that I know that you did this, but you know that I now know that you know that I know that you've done this.
Yeah.
And he kind of just hands him back his pocket knife.
But as far as I'm concerned, the only thing Johnny did was paint a 1 foot line of red paint on the ground.
That's enough. That's too much.
That's more shit that's happened in this rural town in 50 years, motherfucker.
I enjoy how much teen angst is in this film. But
it wasn't even well acted.
No, it wasn't, because I've never, obviously we've all been teens, we've all been angsty, but I never recall being he was 3 steps away from pretty much turning into
Martin Bryant.
Yeah, pretty much. He's just nobody understands me. It's just ridiculous.
Anyhow, we cut to the concert. The concert started.
Yep, that night. Everyone's in the audience, the parents, the teachers.
All the concerts
the
are on school nights as well, I've noticed. They're all mid-meet concerts. So we cut to the first concert. Mm-hmm. Most of the town is there. So
yes.
all the teens are there, and all the adults have come there to check it out, to make sure that the PTA
so
meeting is all there.
sitting in the back row.
They're sitting in the back row.
They're fine. So, woo, show some noise for the band.
So that means they paid for it. So the band wins. Buy another Lambo.
That's
Hop
right.
into the fucking Lambo.
So Damien walks out, and they're all dressed sort of in white trench coats at this point.
Soft cock, fucking They don't They look very Bryan Adams, very Rod Stewart.
Oh yeah.
At this stage, so they got big hair, but they don't have any leathers on. They're not like metal. They're not like Kiss or anything. They just walk out.
They look nice. He has a black rose, and he throws it at Julie. The band starts and his hair is glorious, and I'm sitting here thinking, is this a wig or not? I'm pretty certain this is a wig, and it's pretty chill.
It's because later on in the film, the next scene, he has a different haircut.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyhow, the adults just go, this is pretty shit.
Yeah, even they're like, this isn't cool.
Yeah, this isn't metal, and even the Karen, the religious Karen is like, I was worried about nothing, this band sucks.
Yeah, pretty much. She's like, do you want to come to my house and listen to some, mayhem?
And they all just go, do you know what? Let's go fucking do cross stitch. Yeah, let's all go do cross stitch.
Yeah.
And they all leave, the adults, but then Magnum PI, he kind of is the last to leave. He lingers behind. He does a look back at the last second. And he's
suspicious.
He's like, something doesn't really add up here. I'm like, what doesn't add up? There is nothing that doesn't add up at this point. I'm like, it's just a band. It's just a band of soft cock fuck faces doing shit music to a bunch of wank teens.
Yeah. To pretty much all bands, right?
Yeah.
But the parents are gone. Fuck yeah. Metal can start.
Yeah, so they just basically rip off their white outfits and lo and behold, they're wearing gimp outfits.
Oh, yeah.
So they're wearing strapped leather tops and stuff. But what makes it really cool is that their music doesn't change.
Yeah.
They just kind of keep playing.
But the crowd goes absolutely
Because the crowd
wild.
knows that first soft cock song because they all were singing to it. And I'm like, so it's just the look?
Yeah.
So the look changes.
It changes. You got the look. And then so we get this very, very short concert scene, and then we cut to everyone in class the next day. They're all tired. They're distracted.
I thought
who has a concert on it?
They were trying to imply that they're kind of hypnotized. So the students are...
Very much
I
so.
wrote in my notes, the students are dumb. No, scratch that. Dumber. than they were before.
Yes, very much
so. They're they're kind of not listening and stuff. And he'll go hey, girl who usually answers questions, what's this answer? And she's like, huh? What? I wasn't listening because I'm so... metal now.
Metal people are not like that.
Well, they are in this film.
They are in this film. So Mr. Mustache, he calls on Julie and he's like, well, what about the show? How was the show? And she's like, oh, they gave out free tickets to tonight's show.
He's like, they're giving out free tickets?
And like...
Cut.
It's pretty much like these kids have had a taste of rebellion and they like it.
Yeah, and then we cut. And lo and behold, in the schoolyard is the band giving out free merch.
But they're not...
This is how you acquire a Lambo.
It's not out of the back of a Lambo. They're on the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Don't know where they got it. That's fine. So they're buying records and, of course...
No, they were like giving it out.
Were they?
Yeah,
oh, well, they gave out the last record just as Tony's walking up. And he's like, what do you mean? What? So the fight breaks out.
There's a jock character as well we haven't mentioned
Tony.
Who's in it. Oh, that's Tony.
That's Tony.
Tony's a jock.
And he basically, like, wrestling picks up this dude with a pretty mighty dick grab, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he basically picks this dude up by his crotch.
By his dick, yeah.
Well, it's a good handle. You can't argue that. A dick is like a grabbing handle.
Well, my understanding is if someone's grabbing your dick, you're going wherever they're taking you.
Yeah.
And that's sexy or not sexy, because I don't know.
Come hither.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it just implies that, the kids are starting to go crazy and selfish because the influence of the music is fucking them over. And I'm like, what? Anyhow, so there's a bang. Anyhow,
we cut to Mr. Mustache.
He decides he's going to go visit the band and talk to him. And at this point, at this scene, I thought he was talking to the manager, but that was Damien.
Yeah, so he's
he's got a different hair now.
He does.
It's different
all
length. It's shorter.
Yep, it's short. It's clean cut. He's wearing just a nice polo shirt. He looks very professional. His pants are tucked, like his shirt's tucked into his pants. Kind of looks like someone
Polo
he'd beat
shirts
up.
tucked into pants. Maybe the grossest shit in the world. Like, the only people that should do that...
As long as you've got a popped collar, you're fine.
No, the only people who do that shit work in car washes. Like, you should never do that shit. That's fucking wrong. What really got me is that they're both standing there chatting and they've both got a glass of milk.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing that milk is innocent. Innocent and pure. Kids drink milk.
But if someone offered me, said, hey, how you going? Do you want a glass of milk? I'd be like, no.
Oh, yeah, no, don't offer me.
I don't drink milk casually, motherfucker.
No. I don't even drink milk on a normal basis. I'd be there going, it's a lactose free.
It's got stevia in it.
Yeah. And so they're basically having this very, very well, like, polite conversation about, well, we chose a small town because it's a good way to test our music on, crowds that like us rather than promoting and trying to sell out big city gigs and, stuff like that. And he's, so he's doing a very good job of being all like, yeah, no, we're great. It's all a gimmick. Like, I don't understand. Like, just come to our show tonight. You'll understand. It'll be fine.
He's like, I might come. And on the way out, Damien's like, congratulations on banging the mayor's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, what? How and I'm like, at this point, we haven't even been introduced to the mayor's daughter.
No.
Because I thought the mayor's daughter was that kid.
Yeah, we thought it was Julie.
And I'm like, what's going on in this scene? And I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, this is the worst writing in the world. You're referencing a character that hasn't even been in the film yet.
Yeah.
And he's like, how'd you know that? He's like, I just heard the rumors. And then, like, Magnum walks off and Damien gives a smirk to the camera. I'm like, what is that implying? That he knows things?
Yeah, he sees things. And of course, we now cut to what two things go hand in hand: metal and pumping iron. So Tony's in there, and he's on his couch. He's doing his bicep curls, and his dad walks in, and he's like, "Oi, you dickhead, go help your mum with the dishes."
So you get the vibe that he's got a violent dad.
A little bit, yeah. So his dad turns off the music. And sits down.
Because the jock's sitting there listening to Black Roses while pumping iron.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's what you do.
So, he turns off the music and he's sitting there and then all of a sudden the music turns back on.
Yeah, the stereo's possessed and it's like, I want you to fucking play, motherfucker.
And you're like, uh-oh.
And this scene keeps going on and on.
It must be the devil.
The stereo's on again. Turn it off. What turns on? The stereo's on again. Better turn it off. And the third time he gets up there, he goes to the record and it's all lumpy and it's got all pustules on it or whatever. And I went,
pulsating. It's, it's doing a thing.
Which I'm like, how is it playing?
Yeah, so he touches it. It starts playing backwards. And all of a sudden, this weird, tiny fucking demon puppet.
Oh, there's a speaker mounted on the wall.
Jumps out of the speaker. and just starts attacking the dad in the longest scene ever.
But so the monster that pops out of this speaker, it's about the size of a dog.
Yeah, a small dog.
A mid-sized dog.
A chihuahua.
No, it's bigger than that. It was kind of like a Cronenberg vibe.
Yeah,
like so. If you can imagine, it's kind of like it's black, so it's like made of vinyl, as in like a record.
Oh,
or whatever.
yeah.
It's kind of skin, but it's got like 6 spider like arachnid crab legs, and kind of like a dog's face with lots of teeth.
Yep.
And a tail. Like sort of like a naked skin tail. And it's kind of just on him. And it was very a la Naked Lunch, the scene where they have sex and the typewriter jumps on them and fucks them.
Yep.
So I was like, and I'm like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like,
you sit there.
This is the highest point in the whole film. I'm just going to mention. So there's a dad wrestling with a rubber spider on the ground.
Yep.
For fucking like 45 minutes.
Yeah, this scene goes on forever until eventually it bites him in the face, drags him into the speaker.
Yeah, and we get this like dodge. Like it's a very small speaker. Yeah, you know, it's like 6 inches, like round diameter, and it kind of like keeps cutting between things and shows him going slowly. It's kind of it's shit. It should have bled. It should have had pus coming out.
We should have had some blood coming
there
through the
There should have been goop over everything. If that thing had had goop all over it, we always say, you know, the goo. Put goo on shit, it looks amazing.
Exactly.
It was too dry. It looked like rubber. Put fucking goo on rubber, mate, and it looks like glistening cum.
It really does. So he gets sucked in the speaker and we cut to concert night 2. The crowd's going wild. And I like this because we got a couple of really good shots here.
You missed a bit though. First it cuts back to Magnum and he's at home, sits down, opens a beer.
And puts on some kind of classical
He puts
music.
on Bach.
Yeah.
And sits there smashing beers to Bach. Bach?
Because he's cultured.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm going to sit there, listen to the Evangelion soundtrack. Anyhow, then we cut to gig 2.
Yep. The crowd, and then we get these like really interesting, so like the crowd's there, they're going wild, and then we get like these weird clips where the crowd start to turn into like zombie demons kind of thing.
No, I've written the zombie, suddenly some of the audience turns into Muppets. Because they're like the shittest puppets.
This is the best thing I've ever seen, and it was like a blink and miss it because it was just like...
They were like just like rubber. From this point in the film... all the crowd transformations are basically the show bag masks.
Yes, very much so.
They're just like...
I laughed so hard that I had to pause it, rewind it, stop Liz from doing what she was doing to come and have a look at it.
Yeah. So
and I could have just Googled it.
Imagine just like a skull mask that has human eyes from a show bag, and that's what these people are turning into.
Pretty much.
And I'm like, well, this is nothing like those transformations at the start of the film. There's your $1 million budget gone.
Pretty much so. And that's it. We cut back to Mr. Mustache. He wakes up to this crashing sound.
He's like,
oh, shit, I've missed the concert. So he goes outside.
He actually says, oh, no, I missed the gig.
So he goes outside to see his car has been absolutely trashed and a Black Roses flyer has been left on his car. And, of course, it is Johnny and Tony who have done this. Because they're now delinquents. And Mr. M drives around the town and he sees all the kids. So all the kids are on the streets. They're like... And this is very 1950s because they're like either they're having a punch up or they're making out on cars. I was just waiting for some of them to be doing that like dice game in the street.
I read that like it turned into Friday Night Hindley Street. If you live in South Australia, you know what I mean.
Oh my God,
so there's just... Basically they're just showing that... fucking everything's gone out of control. All these people are wearing denim jackets.
Yep.
And leather jackets as well. So it's basically the you know, fighting. They're fucking, they're fighting and fucking. They're fighting and fucking in our town.
Do you know what it is? This is this damn devil music.
It's that. But like, this is my problem with this film.
I'll
say that again. I'll get my final thoughts.
All right, because I look forward to your final thoughts.
So the mayor, I at first I thought he was going to the gig.
Yes.
And then I thought maybe he's going to what's the fucking dude's name? Johnny's house.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly Johnny. Mm-hmm. Because Johnny is standing out the front of his house kind of laughing when he comes out.
Yeah.
But no, he goes to the mayor?
Yep. The mayor's house.
The mayor. Is it the mayor?
John Mayer. I don't know.
How do you say it?
Mayor.
Mayor.
Yeah.
The mayor's house, and
we are introduced to Priscilla.
The mayor's daughter, which he's and I'm like, oh,
And she's a bit of a bitch. Just gonna say it outright. So even she starts accusing him of... He doesn't even get to come in and talk to the mayor. At this point...
She says he's not home.
Yeah. So at this point, she starts accusing him of banging the girl at school because somehow she knows about that as well.
And he's like, what the fuck? And this is
Where
like,
is this all coming from?
Magnum doesn't do any of that shit. He's just...
No, he's
because
Magnum.
it's that whole thing of he's nice to the kids, so therefore they think...
So they'll talk to him.
Yeah.
He understands.
And it's
so
an
they have
argument.
this,
It's fucking bullshit. Who gives a fuck? Because like she's jealous that they're not together. He goes, "This is why I fucking broke up with you," or whatever. Blah 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 blah. Who gives a fuck?
Exactly.
Because it's actually it doesn't matter. This is like it doesn't have any relevance to the story whatsoever.
No, not at all. Because instead, Johnny comes home, goes straight to his bedroom, gets straight into bed, and he lights a cigarette.
Yeah, no, he gets naked.
Yeah, well...
Smokes a cigarette and listens to Black Roses in bed. He knows how to party.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, naked, smoking in
cigarettes
bed.
in bed. Don't do that. It's dangerous. And then all of a sudden, a naked woman appears in his room, and shit starts to get very adult.
They get busy.
They do get very busy.
But he doesn't ask any questions.
No. I think he just assumes it's Julie. Like, he is under the impression that Julie has finally come to her senses because he is just a studly stud. She's climbed into his bed and he's just gonna have what for.
So basically it's just an excuse for a sex scene.
Pretty
then
much.
we cut to some kid with some action figures. This is great.
Yeah.
And he's got Batman, Aquaman, and Mysterio.
Yep.
Action figures, and he's just fighting them, and he throws Batman in the fire, and he throws Aquaman in the fire, and then...
That's it. And then the dad sort of stops reading his paper for a second. He goes, "Oh,
why are you burning your toys?
What are you still doing up?" He's like, "Oh, you shouldn't be up. You got to go to bed." The kid's also listening to the Black Roses album.
Have you noticed that every adult is constantly reading newspapers in this movie?
Yeah, they just don't pay attention to the kids, which is kind of like, you've got that subtle, the parents don't listen, the kids don't understand, blah, whatever.
But it's not about that.
No, it's really not. So the kid goes off to bed and two girls come home.
It has no relevance.
No, it doesn't. It's weird.
It has no relevance whatsoever. Two babes come home. One is the daughter, and then...
Then we cut to a car doing wheelies, knocking over trash cans, and then speeds into the driveway. The mum's like out, she comes out and she's like yelling at her son, so it's Tony, and she's like, "Where have you been?" And then he just immediately like runs her down with the car.
Yep, well, more scenes that make no sense.
He kills her, leaves her in the middle of the street.
We cut back to the babes with the dad. The daughter goes to bed, but the other babe is like, "Let's play strip gin." As in the card game, and the dad's like,
yeah,
I'm gonna bang my daughter's friend. I thought he was gonna bang his daughter at first.
I had some concerns. I was like, please don't make this weird.
Anyhow, Johnny, cut back to Johnny. He's finished up after sexy time. He's like, that was cool. I think I'm gonna go get a gun and shoot my dad.
Yeah, and so he does exactly that.
Yeah, he shoots his dad in the head. Why not?
Yeah, and this is an
we've got no consistency or continuity so far. Let's just put some random scenes in of murders.
Exactly.
Because it's supposed to be a horror film, and they're up to this point, and they're like, oh, fuck.
We forgot about the horror.
We forgot about the horror. Also, we forgot to put blood in this film, this horror film, which is rated fucking R, this film. There is no gore, and there is no swearing, and it's still rated R. There is a whole bunch of fucking boobies later on.
There is a lot of boobs.
Yeah, later on. I might... And inconsistent boobs as well.
So this is a very off-screen kill, and we get a little tomato sauce up the wall. And that... But I'm talking it's like, oh, look, we need this for craft services as well, so don't use too much. Yeah,
and it's like clear blood.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like blood. It looks like that raspberry topping you used to put on ice creams. Yes. That real clear, crystally red.
And for the amount of times that he shoots his dad in the head, I kind of thought that there would be a lot more than that. But that's fine.
Fine. Let's cut back to strip gin. Tina, her name is. She gets her jugs out.
Yep.
And the dad dies.
Yes. He pretty much has a heart attack. It's the greatest moment of his life. And he's like, well, I'm done now.
So this is the thing I find about these films. These are all the school kids. If you're in high school, they weren't in year 12.
No. So they would have been 15, 16 maybe?
Yeah, so all the girls in this are supposed to be 15, 16, and they all get their gear out. And I'm like, because they're clearly not. They're acted by 45-year-old women. Yeah. But it's just this is what the problem. This is the problem of why lots of things are shit these days. Yeah. Action movie stars the dudes who kill kill the bad guy at the end and everyone cheers. And this shit is the problem with fucking all society. I just want gore.
Yep.
I don't want tits and I don't want fucking... I just want gore. Give me some fucking... There's no gore in this film. It's bullshit.
Are you done?
It's fucked.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. I love a rant. So back at school, Mr. Mustache is trying to lead the kids in a lesson, and they are all just like, yeah, we don't want to talk about this poet. There's a poet from today. His name is Damien. And then they all just
Why don't we talk about a poet that's alive?
Damien. And he gets just so overwhelmed that he just kind of backs out and just leaves.
He
just leaves the classroom.
Fuck? He goes, man, this film has no continuity. What's going on? I'm leaving the scene. Look, it didn't matter.
Yeah. So he leaves. He calls up the mayor and they're like, oh, didn't you hear? And he's like, hear what? And he's like, Herb Miller's dead. And he's like, what? And he's like, look.
Who's Herb Miller?
Herb Miller. Tina's been on his lap. Herb Miller's dead. He's
That's like... all these bodies start showing up in this film, but there's never any police investigation. There's like, Herb Miller's dead. This other lady got run over. This guy's been shot in the head 1,000 times. Oh, well.
Yeah, well, just
we don't have any police in this town.
It's just God doing his will.
There's never been a crime.
So he's basically like, oh,
But he gets fobbed off by the mayor.
Yeah, he's like, trust me, it's the kids. And he's like, whatever, Now we get cut to a school counsellor and we are introduced properly to Janie. Not Julie, Janie. So Janie's the other blonde.
Janie's the daughter that went to bed and didn't play strip gym with her dad.
Yeah.
And this scene is just another scene of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting like grief counselling.
Yeah.
And he's like, so your dad's dead. And I'm like, good way to pick it up.
Start it up. What do you want?
She's just chewing her gum and twiddling it. She's like Kylie Mole.
Kylie Mole, fuck yeah.
And she's basically, all the girls turn into Cyndi Lauper. Did you notice
much,
in this film?
Yeah. And she's like, well, what do you want me to do? Scream about it? He's like, you know what?
Time after time.
Yeah, would you like to? She's like, what, do you want me to scream out the window? And he's like, yeah, if you'd like to scream out the window. And he gets up and he walks over to the window and he opens the window. And she's like, here, you can scream. And then she starts, transforms into this demon, screams at him. And
Wait, what was her demon? Like, she just transforms into a demon. She just suddenly doesn't have hair.
Yeah.
Like, there's no consistency. There's no transformation scenes.
They don't have money.
See, they did it in Evil Dead, the transformation scene, which is instant, and it doesn't make sense. But because it kind of was in continuity in that's what was weird and cool about it, that the fact 1 second later, these monsters are like, wow, with milk coming out of their mouth.
Yeah.
But this just doesn't work. It's just like, excuse me?
So she screams and it
then she doesn't even kill him.
Flings him out the window.
No, she just pushes him out the window. She could have done that in a non-demon form.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, it's not even out of a second or third story. It's like he's on the ground floor.
But he falls down into a pickup and it's just like, bum, bum, bum. And she's just in the window laughing. And clearly everyone knows she did it.
Yeah. She's not even hiding the fact. We cut to Mr. Mustache. He's in the library. And, of course, what's in every library? Books on witchcraft and Satanism. So he's heavy researching now. Like, if this was any other film, we'd have a montage. But we don't.
No, because Julie rocks up.
Shit, Julie.
And she's just like, Mr. Magnum, I want to fuck your dick. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, fuck off.
He's like, no. And, of course, Johnny's off in the background. And he's like, don't.
He's just like, yeah,
don't you want to be.
No, he's all like, nodding. He's like,
He's like, I'm gonna get her.
We're gonna go threesome with Mr. Mustache.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everybody's in for a mustache.
He rejects and goes, fuck off, cunt. Cut to the third gig.
Yes. Well, she was trying to get him to come to the concert again. She's like, just come to the concert. Come to the concert.
Do you know what, though? Why do they want him to come to the concert? Because if he goes to the concert, he's gonna see that they're evil.
Yes, but I feel that if he goes to the concert, then he too shall be hypnotized to the point where, at this point, he seems to be the only person in the town that feels that this band is a problem for the kids.
So it starts with
he's the only one that can do anything about it. It
starts with a highly religious town that is like, oh, fuck, we got to keep this band out. And so it's got this like full censorship message to it. But then the whole town just turns on its head and goes, no, they're sick. Even the religious Karens and shit. And then Mr. Mustache becomes the only one who thinks they're bad.
Yeah.
But they should notice because there's fucking thousands of kids in denim jackets beating everyone up and fucking in the street. Why didn't they notice that? Why all these murders start happening? Why has no one noticed that? It's just bad writing.
It's not the best. definitely not the best.
No, it's like fucking a whole round the world's distance away from the best. It's from here to the fucking Pluto away from the best ever filmed. Anyhow.
So we get concert night 3, and it's becoming a little
shit
bit
show.
It's more demonic than the previous night.
It's just not even a show anymore. It's just Damien monologuing a demon voice.
And then we get this weird boob candle scene, which goes on for way too long, of just some boobs and torso in a mirror with some candles around it, and some boob fondling and some boob touching and some boob wiggling and boobs.
Well, my wife watched this bit. She was in the room, and she's like, boobs. Who's are they? And I don't know.
I don't know.
Goes, so this girl's grabbing her boobs, then she grabs her crutch to kind of like, she's masturbating. There's a photo of Damien stuck to the mirror,
Yeah.
but then she just stops.
Yeah.
And then my wife goes, she didn't even finish. Why?
I don't know. Yeah.
But we don't know who this is. And
well,
then
we find out.
Yeah, but then it cuts to Julie walking out the room, basically, and it's Julie.
Yeah.
And so it's like a 15-year-old girl
So we've just seen some 15-year-old titties,
masturbating.
and I'm not okay with that. She is probably played by a 35-year-old, but still not acceptable.
And the best thing is, so we saw these boobs pretty well.
Oh.
Like, it showed them, like, quite...
I have photographic, like, I could recount this whole thing to a sketch artist.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
could recreate these boobs. That's
Because
how
these
long
boobs come
they
up
were.
later on, I want to talk about. And then Julie, so she walks...
She's all decked out in her, like, corset. She's in this black corset.
Cindy Lauper look.
She's ready to head to the concert.
She's a girl. She just wants to have fun.
Yeah, it's true. But her stepdad is sitting there. And he's a bit of a creepo.
He's got a trucker hat and a mustache.
He does. So he's immediately a garbage human being.
And then she comes up and starts giving him a sexy massage.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, that feels good. Your mother never does that. And I'm like...
Yep.
And then she smashes him.
Just bludgeons him to death
With the
an ashtray.
giantest stone ashtray
Yeah.
that's ever been created in life. Like,
Very much so.
I'm like,
And it's another off-screen kill.
yeah, this one was a little bit better. There are some shots of blood dripping out of his head and him
Yes.
getting beaten, but it was still that clear ice cream topping.
Yeah. Very
Which
much
it clearly was, which I used to use as a kid. Anyhow, Magnum wakes up.
Yep, he wakes up in the library.
I'm like, you slept in the library?
It's 10 a.m. He's like, oh, it's 10 a.m.
I missed the gig.
Again, he's like, it's 10 a.m. I've missed the gig.
I've
You've
slept-
slept until 10 a.m.
10 a.m. on a desk in a public library.
What time do libraries open? Someone would have found him.
No.
I don't know. Anyway, he goes off in search of Julie. He rocks up at the house. Julie's mum answers the door and she informs him that her husband is dead. And he's like, where's Julie? She's like, oh, yeah, Julie. Where is Julie? So she has no freaking clue where the...
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, we cut to the mayor's daughter, Priscilla. is that-
Priscilla, she's finishing up her tennis at the country club.
Girls at the country club. And then, like, she gets into her car,
Yeah.
and Julie pops up and cuts her throat from the back of the car. We don't see it.
No. So we see Julie pop up and then we see a little bit of it and then it cuts to just the outside of the car.
So, and I'm like, what are all these scenes? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's
well,
just,
the kids are killing the things that are getting in the way of their thing.
But,
I
like,
don't
it
know.
just doesn't have any story to it. What's the metal band's plan?
To get all the kids to be fucking demon kids to do their bidding.
But that's not happening.
Well, they are because they're killing a bunch of people.
Was their bidding ever to... Because their monologues didn't say go out and kill people. They were
No,
just like,
doesn't.
Denominal, Sterion.
Damien.
Julie rocks up at Magnum's house. And she's like, tries to get sexy with him. She tries to kiss him, and he doesn't stop her. Mm-hmm. He keeps on kissing her, and then going, "Oh, hang on, I shouldn't be kissing my student," and stops her way too long.
Yeah, there's a few scenes.
He hardly stops her.
Yeah. So she gets her boobies out,
and they're different boobies
Yes.
from before. They are 100% different boobies. They look completely different. They have different areolas. Vastly different. I'm like, wow, continuity, good one. Mm-hmm. But then, because it doesn't show her head, right, in this scene either, but then it cuts to her naked with a side boob shot, and they weren't even her boobs. So she has, we've seen 3 sets of boobs representing her boobs now, her real boobs and 2 model boobs. So there must have been a dude just I just feel like the director is banging people.
Quite
This is the whole
possibly.
thing of him get on the camera. Oh, yeah, show your tits.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to show my face. Oh, we won't film that then. I'm like, oh, my God, this is gross.
Boobs out. So, she's got her boobs out and she's kind of ready to do some extra stuff, and he kind of only thing he possibly can think of to do is to give her a slap.
Punch her out.
Slap in the face. That's what's going to do.
Even though he's a gigantic man compared to her, he just has to slap her down. She transforms into a naked mole rat monster.
This is the best scene ever.
So this monster, this is clearly where a bunch of their budget went as well.
Yep.
So this is an animatronic monster.
Yes.
But they've only made it from the waist down, clearly. Because it's always behind a counter or a bench or just framed, or it's just the top half of it.
Yep.
It's very thin. It kind of looks like a very thin, naked mole rat.
Very much so. It kind of looked good in the fact that, like, from the back, it's like...
Its eyes were too cartoony.
A little bit,
It looked like a Space Jam fucking bad guy.
The little monsters. But yeah, it seemed like they had actually put this prosthetic onto someone's actual torso from the back. Because that kind of looked good. But then you look closely and you're like, no, they didn't do that.
So this is an animatronic. There's a thing on wheels chasing him around, basically.
Pretty much. And he takes it on with a tennis racket.
Yeah, he hits it with a tennis racket for ages and then shoves a tennis ball in its mouth. I'm like, it's clearly a tennis theme running through this scene.
Somebody likes to play tennis. It's like, that's for killing my girlfriend at the tennis club.
And then he falls back onto a chair and basically just stabs it in with a chair leg.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fall down or anything because it's clearly on a
So it can't fall down.
Yeah. It was just basically a Muppet chasing him. This is just an animatronic thing, like a puppet. Yeah. It was like, it was okay, but then it wasn't. Like, it was better, like, Demons had a bet. That baby monster was way better than that.
Oh, yeah, that baby monster. So he's now killed Julie. So what's he going to do now? He's going to go and fill up some gas cans, purchase some flares, which you can also purchase.
Oh, were they flares?
Yes.
But they had a dynamite wick on them.
I don't know. They could have been dynamite. I assumed that they were flares. Fuck it, I don't know.
But they didn't flare. Like, flares don't look like that. It had like a string on it that he lit and it sparkled. Like, and went in it later. We'll get to that.
So he's now purchased dynamite at the local service station as well. That's fine because
they're a rural town.
He is on his way to the school where all the teens are piling in for concert night 4.
And Damien is there giving his pre-show monologue, which I'm pretty sure the whole show is just a monologue now of hypnotism.
Yeah. Very much so. And
shit show.
Nobody notices Mr. Moustache literally walking down the aisles.
So he comes in at the back of the room, opens the door, it's bright light behind him. Yeah. No one notices.
No.
He walks
right down the aisle.
Holding
nobody notices.
A gas can, a big fucking petrol, like...
his little petrol thing and his flares or whatever it is. And he walks right up to the stage, and nobody notices him just like casually pouring petrol onto the stage.
It's not a big stage either. Like, he's basically shoulder to shoulder with the people on the edge of the stage, and he is like 1 meter away from Damien, and Damien just kind of looks over and sees him, and I'm like, what was your plan, mate?
Yeah,
was he going to burn the stage and everyone in? Because if you're going to burn the stage and everyone in, just set the fucking place on fire. Or do anything but try and sneak up there. He's hiding behind nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing to hide behind, but he's in a position like he's hiding.
Yeah, I love that as well. He's just like, oh shit, he can see me.
Oh no, how did this plan not work out? How did it not come to fruition? Anyhow, the crowd grabs Magnum, and then Damien, they bring him up to Damien, and then Damien's line is, oh, you're good, Matt. And I went... No, he's not. He's not good. Like, how do you figure he's good? Number one, he's slept through all the gigs.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yes, literally.
And then his plan was his good plan, apparently. His, dastardly plan that nearly tricked Damien was just to walk in and pour petrol on a stage.
Yeah. You'll never expect it.
Oh, you're good.
You're good. So they start to have a little bit of a thing, a little demon versus Moustache.
And then Damien... Suddenly his hair comes off and he's bald.
Yeah.
And he yells. And in his outfit, he's in the the bondage outfit, which is like a metal outfit. It's like a chestless belt. Yeah. You know what I mean if you see it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. And the point when he takes his top off and he looks like the Dean from Community. Mm-hmm. You know when the Dean's in the bondage gear and shit? I'm like, oh my God, it's just the Dean from Community.
Shit.
So imagine the Dean from Community in bondage gear on stage. If you haven't seen Community, you should watch Community because it's fucking amazing show.
It's great.
Donald Glover, fucking all the best people in it.
Yeah, except for Chevy Chase, who's a dick.
But he is playing...
He's playing
They
Chevy
pretty
Chase.
much make him into himself.
Yeah, they're just read the lines, man.
Yeah, anyhow.
So anyway,
Damien starts to transform.
he does into a fucking demon, but not the demon that we saw at the very beginning of the film.
No, very subpar compared to that. It never reaches the prosthetics of that opening shot. And I don't even think it was the same band.
No. He kind of looks like a weird kaiju, but like a weird kaiju poo version of a kaiju.
He looks like he's a mini Rancor.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he's a mini Rancor from Star Wars, but kind of a shooter one.
Yeah.
So just imagine a Rancor. A little Rancor is on stage. But also the guys that are now grabbing Magnum have all transformed into zombies. But it is the lowest budget shit I've ever seen. They all look exactly the same because they're all just wearing showbag masks.
Yes.
And they've just got, those zombie chest plates that you can just buy? So it's like a T-shirt with just a zombie kind of like rubber bit stuck to the front. I'm like...
Yeah. And then they've got their jackets on to hide the fact that
it's
there's
just
no
a bit
makeup
of rubber
anywhere
stuck to their
else.
T-shirt. And they look shit. And they're all exactly the same. And they're like bright purple.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you look like a fucking like Muppet Gibbon. Like, I hate you. Anyhow, Rancor, he's like, they start brawling.
Yeah, they have some, like, it's a real fight scene. They're
It's
punching,
a real
they're kicking.
pulling their punches fight scene as well.
Pretty much.
They don't know how to act.
No. And Mr. M is knocked off the stage where he is able to grab his dynamite flare thing.
No, first he gets the kick drum from the drums. You know the soft, fluffy thing that, the drums, like they hit the drums, and he starts hitting the dude with it, and he full reacts. I'm like, it's a fluffy fucking thing on the end of a stick.
They're quite hard. They're very hard.
He also kicks the monster in the nuts, but
does.
he clearly doesn't have nuts.
No, he does get a good dick kick in, which is great.
Which did remind me of Monster Squad.
Yep.
So Rancor's got nards.
Very much so. So he grabs Julie, and he has his dynamite flare, and he just
he lights his flare,
up.
which I thought was dynamite, but it's got a wick and a sparkle, and he throws it down, and instead of it blowing up, it just turns into a very isolated wall of fire, which separates.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand.
Again,
I don't know what it is.
The crowd gets their minds back.
Yep.
Instantly, because we all know that just having a fire in the radius of 1 foot away from a demon clearly solves mind control.
It does, yeah.
So the crowd is like, Boo, what's going on? Let's get out of here. Why am I wearing denim?
So they all freak out and they're running out as the band actually just starts playing. So the band starts playing again.
And there's fire and they just start playing.
Yeah.
There's no one there. And Magnum just walks out and meets the mayor. And the mayor's like, Magnum, you were right all along.
Yeah.
I was wrong. And that's the conversation they have. I can't believe you were right all along.
And he's like, get the kids out and let it burn.
Yeah, get the kids out only.
Yeah.
Only get the kids out. And then I'm like, why would fire hurt a hell demon?
I don't know.
Why would a localized small fire...
Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're so used to, like, vast fires. Their localized fires is what their kryptonite is.
Maybe because it was a small fire, it just reminded them of hell, and they all got so homesick they left. Like, oh, man, remember fire?
Remember hell?
Remember how sweet it was?
Oh, man.
Hey, where's our crowd?
We cut to 6 months later.
6 months later.
The mayor and Mr. Mustache are watching, they're, like, hanging out at
they're
the mayor's
just hanging
house.
out with beers.
Yeah. And the news comes
There's
on.
no trauma. All their friends have just died.
Yes.
Their wives,
The daughter.
their ex-wives, their daughters, their
Girlfriends.
school kids, their everyone. They're all dead. And they're just hanging out like bros in a room drinking some beers, watching the news.
Yeah. And of course, on the news, they report that Black Roses are back after a hiatus with another 5 shows.
In Madison Square Gardens.
Yup. End.
No way. So it's a news report, right? And then it's got, the other news reports have that the picture within the picture.
Yes.
And it's got that photo of Damien.
Yes.
That we saw
The
on
nice
the flyer.
clean-cut flyer photo.
And, like, as the lady's talking, it cuts down the sound. So it's not even a clean cut. As she's talking, it goes, "Yoop." They drop the sound down. It keeps a picture of Damien up on the screen. And it just goes, evil. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. What? And then there's cut to credits. And I'm like, I had to rewind it to even know what it said because it starts saying evil, just the word evil, as they're turning down her dialogue. So it's just like, what is this editing? Are you fucking... Did a fucking cat run across your keyboard while you were editing?
Cats can do things. It's great.
You're like, oh my...
It ended. Now, Dan, I desperately want to hear your thoughts.
So my first note is this film was fucking rubbish. This was like... So here's my problem with this film. The first part of the film was about... It had this real moral thing of like a small thinking town, religious people jumping to conclusions, blaming their problems on music, like finding Satan in everything.
Yeah.
But then we have like... the teacher standing up for music, making really valid points, showing that, you know, people jump to these conclusions. Rock and roll isn't like a fucking a gateway to Satanism and cults and killings and all that. But then the film makes that it is. And I'm like, so your message is that metal music is a gateway to Satanism. So it's basically saying that the religious fanatics and the people that they don't like were right. Well, so what's your fucking message, person who made this film? It's not to say that rock and roll is wicked. It actually is bad in this film. It's trying to say that rock and roll is shit.
I feel that this is just a parody of that, though, because so it's produced by Trauma. This is like a Trauma film. It's produced by Lord Kaufman. But it's not, though. It's not.
Did it say it at the start?
It said produced by Kaufman.
Yeah, but it's not a Trauma film.
It's not Trauma, so it doesn't have all that.
It's not Sergeant Kabuki, man.
No.
Doesn't have him opening, you know. Sometimes he goes, "Hi, I'm what." When he used to do that shit.
Yeah. So I think it's just a massive parody of like, well, all of this stuff is like the argument. Well, what if they're right? What if it is just demons coming to ruin your kids' lives? That's like, because also you got to remember that this is clear like 1988, so we're still at the height of that satanic panic, like where
it's 1988, but it's also like it's like cock rocky. It was just like so flamboyant. It was so camp.
Oh yeah.
Like it was almost like I thought it was going to be like at one stage like a gay conversion thing that they were going to try and turn all the students gay.
Could have done that.
Because there was a lot of like weird muscle building and camp characters.
Yeah.
And women were evil in it. None of the boys transformed.
No, they didn't. Oh, they probably didn't have the budget for that.
No, it's true.
We had budget for like 3 different sets of boobs, but that's it.
There was no consistency in this film. It just like its story was everywhere. It kind of went. Like, I didn't know ever what the point was of the band or what their goal was. The teacher, like, there was no goal for the teacher to work out. There was no expert. Or anything. It just kind of it was just scene by scene stitched together, and it was slow. Like, and then all the shit happened at the. It's like they had 3, but they had the opening budget of effects. They had the animatronic monsters. They had some dickhead make a fucking speaker monster.
Yep.
And then the end. But as it went through, it got shitter.
Yeah.
Like, as in, like, the effects got worse and worse.
It was like they started out really strong, and then they realized,
and even
like,
the
we
monster
don't have
coming out of
any
the speaker
money.
was a kind of cool monster. But then everything after that was just rubbish.
I've been trying to track down this film for such a long time. So this is one of those films that is like, oh, you know, the best heavy metal horrors or this, that, and the other. But it's just never, because it was never released. I don't think it was ever released outside of VHS. There was probably like a quick.
It's got an awesome cover.
It's got a fucking great cover.
But it's a picture of one of the opening scene monsters that never comes back into the film. I thought it was going to be like like that one dude comes out of the records while you're playing and he kills you and shit. It would have made this more cooler.
That was like, that's another film. We can watch that film.
Is there one?
That's Trick or Treat. That's pretty much like what if Freddy Krueger was like a metalhead.
Yeah, I always remember Trick or Treat, but I've never seen it.
We'll definitely watch
I thought it was just like a Halloween ripoff.
Yeah, no. Well, they do Trick or Treat. There's like the Trick or Treat with and that's the anthology film that came out like 10 years ago. But like this film is like I love this film because it was streaming on Shudder, so I was so excited when it popped up on Shudder. I'm like, we're definitely doing this film. This movie is ridiculous. Like, you just push aside the fact that all of this,
but I don't think it even
shit.
I don't think it meets the standard of being
Oh, see, it meets my standards.
Yeah,
Dan.
no,
You know
it
that I
doesn't
have
meet
a
the
weird
standard of even being just like so bad it's good to me. It was just
Ooh.
like it was bland.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's
much of the scenes were just bland scenes
Oh.
that were just so inoffensive and boring.
Don't get me wrong. There is no blood or gore. I mean, but I loved it. I thought this was fantastic because it was just so ridiculous that I was just beyond joyed by it. I was watching it. I was clearly in a good mood when I was watching it, and I had so much fun with it. The soundtrack was good. I like my hair metal.
I didn't mind the music, but
It's
yeah.
just stupid fun.
But,
is exactly what it was.
Its most redeeming quality is that it was short.
Yes. Well, this is what I say as
And
well.
I love a good short film.
It moved along really quickly. Like even
No, it didn't. It was
did,
like an hour and 10 minutes.
It was, but even then,
It felt
at
like
no
it was
point,
still 2 hours.
maybe. Well, I guess I was having too much fun with it to think that this was like dragging along, because it is all over the fucking place. It's poorly written, poorly acted. I still fucking loved it.
Well,
What did you give it?
I gave it 2. I
Yep.
gave it obviously a Jen special because I just knew you'd like it because I knew you liked it.
Oh,
And
I said before, after I finished watching it, and I turned to Liz, and I'm like, Dan is going to hate this.
I gave this a secondary fucking McConaughey.
Oh!
This was fucked. This was a shit film
Yep.
through and through. You had bad acting, bad gore, bad pacing, bad everything.
Yep.
And then the moral didn't even... Its moral went all up the fucking wazoo, up and down a slippery dip. Like, its messaging was all fucking everywhere. It didn't make any sense. Like, it was just a bunch of scenes. It maybe like it was trying to be like showing the hardness of being a teenager or some shit. But like,
Maybe.
it didn't. No, it was just it was just a heavy metal dick fuck, and it wasn't even heavy metal. It was a cock rock.
It was
It was
hair
a cock
metal.
rock frock dock.
The fuck. I gave this one 3 ratings, so I definitely gave this one a J. It is definitely right up my alley of films, and I will probably watch this again very soon. I also gave this F. It is fun and dumb, and I would 100% have people over and have beer and chicken wings and watch this as a group movie.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be your friends anymore because they'd be like, "I hate you now, Jen.
Don't have that many friends to begin
You're
with.
a
but,
dickhole."
You know. So I tried to... There's not a lot of information out there for this film, so I tried to look up some fun facts.
The fun fact is it should have never existed.
So according to the back of the VHS, the special effect, it states that the special effects are fantastic. However, this is not voiced by any critic. It is instead just put there as a description of the movie.
Oh, so it's not a quote?
No. The VHS home, the VHS was released with a raised plastic 3D texture
Oh, yeah, bubble.
front cover
Embossed.
in November of 1988. And I looked up how much this was selling for on eBay, and it's about $500+.
Yeah, all that stuff, that makes
Yeah.
complete sense because like the limited run stuff, this clearly would have been a limited run.
Oh, very much
and
so.
anything that's in clamshell cover from that
Yeah.
time and the original clamshells that have like anything different about them, like the Fright Night cover that
Yep.
has the coffin,
Yep.
the Hellraiser double pack, the Hellbound
Oh, yeah,
one,
that one, that
even
big
the
one.
Brain Dead one, there's the Video Dead that had the holographic cover, like all those things
Yeah.
are the things that have to last the test of time. So if they still exist now,
Yeah.
they're rare.
Yeah.
So it's not that the film's good.
No, it's just like the VHS collection of it all. Because there were 2 versions. There was this one and a standard one. The standard one is also selling for like
The standard one, they pay you $50 to
couple
take
of
it off their hand.
$100. I'm pretty certain your mate probably has a copy floating around. I'm curious as to which.
Starblaze Collectibles
Starblaze,
would definitely
yeah.
have it. Yeah. So
I'm
check
curious
out.
as if he's got the standos or the 3D one.
Well, the thing is, he's like a merchant of them. So he may have
Yeah.
had it throughout his life, but like he
Probably.
probably just doesn't have it now or some
Yeah.
shit. But
But
yeah.
so that's it. Black Roses. I loved it. Dan hated it, and that's how we knew it was going to be. What are we going to watch next time?
So we're gonna go full Australian on this shit,
Oh.
and we're gonna watch The Truth About Demons,
Yes.
or formerly also known as The Irrefutable Truth About Demons if you're in the US. This stars the one and only Carl Urban,
Oh.
who was in... I watched Thor Ragnarok yesterday. You know, he
Yes,
plays that character
yes.
with the gun.
He's like, this is all my stuff.
Yeah, witness my stuff. I'd forgotten he was in it, and I love that film.
Yeah,
I've
it's a
forgotten
great
how
film.
funny that film.
It's
Piss
fantastic.
off, ghost! And he comes so late, he runs in and kicks the wall so far after he's. Oh man, it's not a Thor Ragnarok. It's not a Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It should
podcast.
be a Thor Ragnarok podcast.
So,
anyway,
the truth about demons. Now, I don't know if this film is even accessible. I don't know if we can find this film. This might be a fail. You know what I mean?
will have a look because, Letterboxd are generally pretty good. They'll let you know where it is streaming, if it is streaming. It
might just be on YouTube,
It'll probably be on YouTube.
Yeah, just
Most
the whole
things
film.
are just on
No
YouTube.
one's going to care.
No.
So this is, as we said, this was the film that, was part of one of my fun
Your
facts.
fever dreams?
My fever film.
Yeah.
So we're going to revisit. I haven't watched it since that time, and that was probably in the 90s.
I love it.
I think it was when it was new.
Yep.
When it came out. I bought it on, new release or whatever. I didn't buy it, I hired it. So we're going to see how that pans out.
Yep.
To see whether it was worthy of a fever dream.
Hey, maybe you'll get sick again and watch it and it'll be the best film you've
Can
ever
I
seen.
not?
I would prefer you to not get sick. Nobody get sick, please. So anyway, you have been listening to TerrorVision Horror Podcast with Dan and Jennifer. We are available on all major podcasting services and also on the YouTubes. But no matter where you choose to consume us, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment or a review, and make sure you share with all your friends. You can interact with us on both Facebook and Instagram at TerrorVision Pod. It'll keep you up to date on upcoming episodes, trivia, and of course memes that are 100% 3 years old by now. We also have an email, terrorvisionpod@gmail.com, if you want to contact us that way.
And remember, until next week, may all your dreams be nightmares.